It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back, relax, and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined by my co-hosts Fi Dunn, Warren Carr, John Dyer and Austin Pinto. And we're also joined by special guest Gary Malkonian. And we're coming to you on Saturday, the 14th of January, 2023. I'm from the UK, so I say the dates the right way round. We have our usual announcement section this week. Then we move on to Android Basics, and it's a great section this week because we're talking about the new features in Talkback 13.1. The In Focus section sees Fi Dunn unbox her new Vario Ultra. We then have a tip of the week where John Dyer blocks Warren on Telegram, and I urge you all to do that. And then in our Talkback highlights, we demonstrate some of those aforementioned Talkback 13.1 new features. Gary, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm coming from rainy California as usual. So everything's good, and I wanted to be part of this podcast this week.
Nice. iPhone, what's going on?
London is rainy, and due to get very cold next week, apparently. I've been enjoying using my Vario Ultra 40, and also I got a Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 this week. Had a bit of fun setting that up, otherwise known as frustration, and went into a shop to get some eyes to... No, that sounds funny, doesn't it? It sounds like I bought the eyes in the shop to get someone to help me to turn on Talkback and set up the watch. And yeah, it's all good now. So at some point soon, I might tell you more about that, but I'm still making sure I know how it works at the moment. So, and also I'm still preparing a service for the end of the month that I will be leading. So I've got lots to do. I'm very busy.
Nice. Austin, you're under the weather a little bit, aren't you, at the minute?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of under the weather. So I had an infection on the left leg this week, but still recovering. It's almost cleared up now, but the antibiotics are on for today. So it's getting really nice and cold now. Suddenly the temperature is dropping. And in India, these 2 days are real festive days. So we have a festival going on in the north of the country. They have the festival going on in my state, and also the festival in the south. So it's all festive 2 days in India.
Yeah, sounds good. John Boy, how's Virginia?
She's good.
Excellent.
I had a pretty good week. Just a typical week, but I did get a new laptop and sent back the broken one that I had bought the previous week. So got that taken care of.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it so far. It's a Galaxy Book 2 360.
Nice. Warren, what's going on?
Doing well, and Austin probably didn't give us the complete picture of what's wrong with his leg. Actually, I think that infection is from a good thing. So it's from food, as he told me. Maybe he didn't want to tell you guys about it, but I thought I'll take liberty and talk about what really messed up Austin's leg.
Yeah.
Austin, how about you tell us what really happened?
So what happened was Monday, we had a party in the office. We ate food, and I came home, and then from that day it started. So it's a food infection. That's what doctor says. The blood reports are come clear, but things are clearing up now.
Yeah, my whole thing is that sometimes that happens when you eat food and you don't even tell your friends about it. I mean, like the podcast crew. And you went about having a party without us, and you only come to tell us about the effect of the party. Well, we hope you feel better, Austin. Because next time, learn to share that food with your friends.
Yeah.
Wait, how does food cause an infection in your leg?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm confused.
Even I don't get it.
Maybe you were eating vegetables or something. Was that it? I mean, I
Maybe.
can see how
Yeah.
they would do it.
Maybe.
And vegetables can easily be contaminated,
Yeah.
so it probably was. Maybe what we call the finger food, broccoli, that silly kind of stuff.
Yeah, stick to
Yeah.
steak. Steak won't do that.
No, because you got fire.
Yeah.
Well, if it gives you an infection in your leg, maybe it's leg food instead of finger food.
Chicken legs.
It's
Yeah,
chicken
could
legs,
be.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were chicken legs.
They were undercooked.
Well, that was it, though, wasn't it? Chicken legs. Leg and
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
There we are.
Yeah, but I'm doing well here. Didn't have any food poisoning or whatever that messed up my leg like Austin has, but we're doing well, and I can't believe that we're already almost in the middle of January already. It's just going too fast, and we're starting to warm up here. It's I think we're gonna be like 38 degrees or something today, so it's getting good, and that snow on the ground is melting some. It's still a lot out there, but my daughter kind of fell the other day, kind of hit her knee really good. It's not funny. Just right in front of the door. I mean, I've cleaned the thing, but you have repeating snow, and it's so hard to uh, keep cleaning that thing up all the time. But so we're doing better, and I'm glad to be here.
Good. Well, let's turn to our announcement section then for this week. Austin, what have we got?
We don't have any channel announcements or anything to do with the podcast, but some new software updates and Talkback updates came our way, especially Android 13 QPR2. One of the changes they brought to India was they rolled out 5G support to Pixel 6a and above. So that was a good change that they brought to India.
What about QPR2 elsewhere? Warren, is there anything you noticed about that?
Also, talking about the QPR2 Beta 2, there are some fixes, but the main focus of this update has to do with some more Unicode. Those of you guys that like the emoji, shaking heads or pink, whatever, all that silliness, Unicode 15 support. So there's something called the transient taskbar, and this is most especially intended for tablets and things like that. So that now has that support, and then we have that lock screen shortcut support, and more of things of that nature. But I think that one of the most important things here that has a fix is that if you're using your camera, for example, and you're doing a video clip or whatever, and in that, while you're doing a slow motion and you change the speed or whatever, it doesn't work. So that is fixed. And then there's also sometimes it depends. I haven't seen it, but some people have seen it to where your screen becomes, unresponsive, like the home screen or something happens like that. So they fix that as well. And then another good thing is the profile. If you have a work profile on your phone, for example, and if you take a screenshot, it sends it to your personal screenshots. Now that has been fixed, so we have that fixed. So it's just little fixes here and there that we have with this update, and there are some things that are coming next month, but people can already see what it is. It's not enabled at the moment, and most especially the ability to take screenshots or record an app. Say I'm trying to demonstrate Android 13.1 or Android 13.5 if you're on Samsung and you're always ahead of us. If I'm trying to demonstrate Talkback 13.5 on Samsung, for example, and I don't want other things coming in, like maybe if I get a notification and it'll show up in there. So Google is taking care of that. It's not yet live in this version, but that means it'll be there next month before we get the final in March. And so those are some of the things and little fixes that we have there.
I know we've done it before, but you never know when new listeners come. So maybe we should add a little bit that's at the start of this, explaining what QPR versions are. Because to me, until a few weeks ago, I just thought it was a football team. So
Yeah, we could just explain it now. So it stands for quarterly platform release, and it's what Google releases 3 times a year. I think publicly they refer to them as feature drops. So there's a winter feature drop, spring, and summer. And so every 3 months they sort of do a smaller, you could call it like a point upgrade to Android or Pixel devices. And that's what we're referring to.
but it is a beta thing, isn't it? It's not the stable release.
Right. Yeah, right now it's a beta. It should be released by March.
Yeah, so that's why it's called a quarterly thing. So it's a 4-time thing. So the first one of the year is March, then you have June, then you have September, and it concludes, in December. And so that's what we had. The last one that we had in December was the full feature drop. So even if you're not in the QPR program, if you're not in that beta program, you will get them, quarterly. So, but if you're into the beta like I am, then you get them just about every month. In reality, you get that. It's just like the monthly updates that we have security patch. So like this one also comes with the security patch for the month of January.
Cool. Well, now we move to our Android basic section, and we have what I think is probably one of the most feature-packed Talkback updates we've had for quite a while. They've called it Talkback 13.1. I almost wonder whether they could have got away with a 13.5 for this, because there's a fair amount in it. We'll all
because
have
Samsung already took 13.5. So
this is true. This is true. Yeah, yeah, that's very true. They have major point upgrades and they've done very little. So Google is reversing that and having much more incremental ones, and they've done more. I'm sure we'll all have views on this, but Gary, what are your thoughts on 13.1?
It's better than before. It's responsive than before. There's a lot of features that 13, I don't know, from my point of view, 13 to me was a minor upgrade than this 13.1.
Yeah, that was my thought as well, and that's why I thought they could have
You
got a
had
bit bigger.
spell check, you had actions, you have split tap, you have a lot of Braille stuff.
yeah, I think
there's a couple other things that's escaping me at the moment.
The way Google's doing it now is they're trying to stay in sync with the operating system. So whether it's a big upgrade or not, whatever they release, like over the summer or fall, they're just going to jump to the next number, so that like they have Talkback 13 aligned with Android 13. At least that's how I feel. It seems like that's what they're doing. So I don't think it matters to them how much has improved, whether they're only going to call it a point release until the next year in the fall, then they're going to jump to the next number.
Yeah, the strange thing about that though is obviously it's not dependent entirely anywhere on having Android 13. So some of the features are, but it'll run on Android 12, 11.
John is correct. Prior to we go into this, Talkback 12, 11, whatever it was, we had just and then they aligned it to the Android versions. So that is why now it's just basically whatever the Android version is, it just aligns to that. So I know it's more confusion this way, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's their
because it's not. You don't need Android 13 to run Talkback 13.
Yeah, exactly. That's what confuses somebody. It would be much better if they just do a year, Talkback 2023 or Talkback 2027, whatever the year would be. It would be much. That'll be less confusing for somebody.
Or just have it so that Talkback has an independent version number to Android,
exactly,
like Play Store does, or any other Google app does.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining about it when that's how they did it. I don't know why it changed.
I want to ask about this spell checker thing, because to me, a spell checker doesn't really sound like a talkback feature. So is it just that talkback will
So
speak what's in the spell checker now, rather than that the spell checker is actually a talkback thing? Because I'm
no,
guessing sighted people have a spell checker as well, do
it's
they not?
a feature, but what happens is, you have Gboard will do your autocorrecting and all that, but I mean, you can sometimes Gboard or your voice detection may not get it correctly, and then you can go through your document either using character granularity or word granularity, and you can, a spell check, and and it'll give you like in actions, it'll give you like how you would have a bunch of words, and you can pick the word that you think is correct.
And the way they've done it is that there are two things that have been added to the reading controls or granularity. So there's a spell check, and what that will do when you swipe up and down, having selected it, is it will cycle you to the next spelling error. And then if you go to, I think it's actions, isn't it? You
Yes.
will have a choice of suggestions that you can select. It seems to be, for reasons not entirely clear, that you have to be at the top of the document for the spell checker to work optimally.
I don't know either. Yeah, but that's what I've noticed, and that's been my experience. It doesn't make any sense to me either. Like if you're typing a document or you're typing an email and you have like a bunch of things that Gboard did incorrect, or your voice dictation did incorrect. I find it a little tedious. I would hope that they refine it, that wherever you are in the document, you could have, as you're saying, go through the actions, use a spell check, up down swipe, and or have some type of indication, and you could just go through your actions, and if there's a word that that Gboard didn't catch or your voice dictation didn't catch, you have the options there. You just pick whatever the option is and go on your business.
Yeah, it should just
That
cycle
sounds-
into it. You shouldn't be at the top. It should just rack.
No,
Yeah.
That sounds to me like Talkback has made a spell check that Google's already done accessible, though, rather than that the spell check itself is a Talkback feature.
Yeah, I
Do
think it's a
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you set your granularity or your reading control to spell check, or
Yeah.
and then it will move. So whatever is marked, of course, we can't see it visibly marked, but whatever is
No,
marked
that's
as,
what I mean. I think
yeah.
those things have been marked probably for ages,
Yeah.
but
But
we
now
just haven't
instead
had
of-
access to it. So I don't think it's quite correct necessarily to say the spell check itself is a Talkback feature. I would have thought it was probably more accurate to say
it could be vice versa. I don't know.
When you use Gboard and you have the predictive typing, or whatever, it guesses the word that you are trying to type, that is not the same thing necessarily like the spell checker. So for instance, if I miss anything in Google while I'm typing with my Gboard, rather, I keep saying Google, and I'm done with that document, I can't go back to it and find it without reading that document and come across a word that doesn't sound right, or doesn't, if I'm using my Braille-Display or whatever, I see the misspelled word. But with this spell checker, I should be able to, hey, spell check this document for me. So definitely is different, even though it's somehow tied to that, but it's not necessarily the same thing.
Another of the big changes in 13.1 is that talkback actions are much more readily available. So previously, you either had to go into the talkback menu and select actions, or you could assign a gesture to actions. Now, actions will be in your reading controls by default. And where actions are kind of available, like on your home screen if your launcher supports them, or in other instances, your reading control, I think, will default to actions. So if you're on a notification, you can now just swipe up and dismiss it, or do whatever. You'll be on actions a little bit like those who've used iOS previously might experience. So pulling actions out and making them a little bit more available than they previously were, I suspect, is a productivity enhancement that might help quite a lot of folks.
You made a very important statement there, Ed, because in reality, if, like, for example, prior till now, I had a gesture dedicated for actions, and now with this, I should now use that gesture for what it was intended for. For example, for mine, I chose the left-right swipe for my actions, and so now I could move that thing back to where it used to be instead of using it for actions. So I think it's a good feature to have it there as part of the default granularities, and it makes things easier for people to say you're on a home screen, you want to move an icon to another icon, another home screen, or you want to uninstall the app, or you want to remove the icon from your home screen. That makes the process a little bit easier if you simply just change the granularity to actions, and then you have all the things that you can do. So I really like that feature, making it easier for people to use Talkback, and kudos to you guys for doing that.
So it's in the granularity now, is it? When you're like with words and characters and stuff, actions is in that thing. Oh, brilliant. That'd be great.
Yeah, so it that's what makes it beautiful, and you don't necessarily have to go to put it in. See, like words and characters, you actually need to go in and do that. If you don't specifically say, "Hey, I want my characters to be part of the granularity," they're not going to be in there. But this one comes by default, and that's what makes it even prettier. Prettier as a
That's
picture,
good.
right?
Mm.
Yeah. So tell Samsung to bump you up to version 14, because it seems like it will take version 14 on Samsung to get it. Samsung, if you're listening to the Blind Android Users podcast, please, let's be on the same page, shall we?
Or you can go and listen to John Dyer's excellent demonstration on our YouTube channel of how to get Google Talkback on your Samsung device.
Yeah, I did. It sounded a bit complicated.
Well, it's there for those of you who are feeling adventurous and want to try it. Worth talking about some Braille improvements in 13.1. Obviously, you have the current issue where Bluetooth on Android means that you can't have a Braille display that uses a human interface device driver, such as HumanWare NLS over Bluetooth. But you can now connect those devices via USB. So perhaps not optimal, but until the Android Bluetooth issue is fixed, you can at least use those devices now via USB, should you so choose, which I guess is better than nothing.
Would you need an adapter though? Presumably, wouldn't you, to do that?
No, just a cable.
Yeah, but they come with the Braille displays usually come with USB at one end and I don't know, USB-C or micro USB at the other end.
Yeah, you don't need a dongle though. I would probably buy a cable rather than an adapter just for ease.
So you could just have USB-C at both ends, for example.
I would do that.
I see. Yeah.
I would do that. You can. You absolutely can. You can buy an adapter, but I wouldn't. I'd buy a separate cable, just because.
Yeah,
and sometimes
it's probably
a
better.
lot of phones come with an adapter. I know Pixels come with an adapter.
Yeah. Mine didn't, but I mean, I have a good Bluetooth Braille display anyway, so I don't care, but yeah.
The other Braille improvement worth talking about, albeit I do think this is half-baked, is we have many, many more languages in the Talkback Braille keyboard now. This includes more English Braille tables. So we have UK, US English, and a whole load of new languages, including, I think slightly bizarrely, but very good, Ancient Greek, if Ancient Greek is your thing.
Wow.
You can now use that on the Talkback Braille keyboard. The reason I say it's half-baked, though, is that for all of the Braille tables, not just English ones, I looked at some other languages, I don't think there are any grade 2 options aside from Unified English Braille, which is a bit of a shame because the tables exist. But, at least if Unified English Braille is not your thing and you're prepared to type in grade 1, then those tables exist too, and maybe their grade 2 siblings or betters will be added. But if it's grade 2 you want, then you're stuck on useless English Braille still for a while.
I don't mind UEB. Have they fixed the really annoying thing now when you have a Braille display connected and it pops up with this, an external Braille keyboard is connected. If you want to change to the Talkback Braille, the Braille on-screen keyboard or whatever it is. And I'm like, why would I want to do that when I've got an external Braille keyboard? Stop. Don't do that. That's annoying. Have they stopped doing that?
I haven't checked. I don't know.
Because that would make me very happy, because it's very irritating. And I also want to just be able to use my Braille display and swap between, say, that and say a Bluetooth keyboard or something without all the stupid, you need to change input devices. Oh, come on. It's 2023, guys.
I think you'd always have to change input devices for that, though.
You never do when you connect the Bluetooth keyboard. It just works.
Yeah, but you want to switch between the two when they're both connected at once, don't you?
No, I just want one or the other. And if I've been using the Bluetooth keyboard and then I go back to the Braille, it'll say, in order to type in Braille, you have to change input device. Why?
Even when the Bluetooth keyboard, is that because you've got the Pixel set as the default, though?
No, the Bluetooth keyboard's turned off.
Yeah, but what's your default keyboard?
It has to be Braille to use the Braille display, but I don't want to be restricted like that. I want it to just there's no Braille display, so we'll show the Google keyboard. There is a Braille display, right, we'll let you type with that. There is a Bluetooth keyboard, right, we'll let you type with that. I don't want to have to keep changing my default keyboard. That's very tedious.
I don't think you should have to. I think I think it might depend on what order you have your keyboard set and which one's the default.
I don't think it ought to be that complicated. I have to say, I know you don't like Apple on here, but on my iPhone, I can use Bluetooth, I can use Braille, or I can use the keyboard on the phone. And I am never, ever asked to set anything. It just works. And I wish Android would do that.
No.
Because it works. I don't want to have to, it should just go, oh, this is Braille now. Hello, and work. Google can do all sorts of things with the assistant and everything. Come on, Google, sort it out, please.
I think if you set one of those hardware keyboards as your default and order them, that might not happen. But
I don't want to have to set anything. Why should I have to?
If you reset it, it might fix it.
Yeah,
what would I have
we'll
to
see
set?
what happens. Like we say, everything is a work in progress, and who's to say that would
some
not
of it's
happen?
more of a work in progress than others.
It depends what you want, though. But Apple is fairly limited on the on-screen keyboards you can use. Isn't it?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But if you're just using the defaults and you've never mucked about with anything else, which I haven't, it should just work. Braille shouldn't be so irritating, and as soon as you connect Braille, it sort of has a bit of a panic. Oh, this is a different one. Oh no, like just work.
I mean, it shouldn't flash up your flash message, but I think reordering your keyboards will solve that issue.
So what should the first one be then? The Braille one?
Probably, and then the Bluetooth one. Make sure
I don't even have to set the Bluetooth one as an input. That's not even on the list. There isn't even a Bluetooth.
No, so
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the Braille one.
So in that case, set the Braille one as a default.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem is
until the Braille display isn't connected, and then it'll go, you haven't got a Braille display connected, and then it'll want me to type Braille on the screen, and I don't like it.
No, it won't. It won't do that because then it will have the physical keyboard.
It does. It says things like .5 and stuff. It's very irritating.
Well, that's because you've got the Talkback Braille keyboard on as well. So
yeah, because it says I have to in order to use the Braille display.
Well, if you've got the Bluetooth connected, though, you say that's identified as a physical keyboard anyway. So
Not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Braille display. Not with the Braille
So
display.
yeah,
Only with
like
the
I
QWERTY
said,
one.
this is something that I mean, like even if I connect my Bluetooth keyboard, you know, I have that thing in the notification that says configure, you know, a keyboard,
Are
whichever
you
one.
talking about Braille keyboard now,
No,
or
I'm
a
saying
QWERTY
even
one?
if a regular Bluetooth keyboard, for example, like I have my Logitech sitting here or my whatever, if
Your
I pair
desk.
it to my phone, I have that thing in the notification that says configure keyboard.
I don't.
Yeah, no, it does. It always shows up there
Yeah, but it
whenever I
doesn't
pair a
come up on
Bluetooth
the main screen
keyboard there.
like it does if you connect to Braille display. And it doesn't not let you type with the Bluetooth keyboard like it doesn't let you type on Braille until it says, in order to use this Braille display as a keyboard, you have to change to Talkback Braille keyboard. It's
Yeah,
annoying.
because the talkback display is not a physical input in the sense of a physical keyboard. It's
It
a
is.
no. Hear me out on this one. Let me try to explain. The Bluetooth keyboard that I connect to my phone, that's all it does. It has no other functionality besides just being a keyboard.
Right,
While
yeah.
the Braille display, however, it's not just an input method. It has other functions as well. So I can
Yeah,
see
but
why that is.
the output works though. The output just works, so I don't see why the input shouldn't, really. Once you've set it up for the first time, I think it should just work. And if Talkback would improve that, I would be a very, very happy user. So please, if you're listening, Google, please make it easier and fix it, and don't make me have to change that every time I use Braille again.
Speaking of typing, they also introduced split tap typing for those of you who know what that is. It's another thing they kind of took from iOS, where if you want to tap with the on-screen keyboard, the regular QWERTY keyboard on screen, you can move one finger around on the keyboard and use a second finger to type the letter by just tapping once. So that's now an option.
So with the second finger, can you tap anywhere?
Yes.
So it's like, say if I want to write Fiona, my name, I would press F, and then with the other hand, I would just tap somewhere to say, yes, I meant F.
Yeah.
And then yes, I meant I, and so on.
Yeah, so you would just slide your thumb around. So if you're holding the phone like in your right hand, you could just slide your thumb around to the keys you want to press and tap like your left finger on the screen to input whatever your right thumb is currently on.
Okay. Right. Interesting. It's not something
Yeah,
I've ever used, but
yeah, I don't use it for typing, but what I have found it very convenient for is deleting characters, because I could just put my thumb on the delete and then just like really fast. Like if I already know I want to delete 5 characters, I can just tap 5 times really fast with my other finger. So that's definitely where I've been using it the most.
Instead of having to go double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually that would be quite handy.
You will need Android 13 for that, though. It won't work on Android 12 or below.
Yep.
Something else worth talking about, I think anyway, I think it's quite helpful. Before, you weren't able to assign a gesture to show or hide the screen. It was in the Talkback menu, but for some reason it wasn't something you could assign a gesture to. You now can. So if you want to turn on a screen shade, hide the screen or whatever, you can assign a gesture to that. There isn't one by default, but if you go into Talkback settings, customize gestures, that's something you can do as well, which I think is quite good.
Yeah,
that
I like
annoyed me for ages, not being able to turn on the screen shade. So
yeah, they
that's
also
good.
took away, which has bothered me forever. I've hated this. Every time you hide the screen, it used to put a message on the screen telling you, like, basically instructions for a sighted user how to unhide the screen, like open the Talkback menu, select show screen. And it just bothered me that, like, why, when I'm hiding the screen, are you so like content on like showing a message to a sighted person to let them know how they can unhide the screen? And it
I
was
think
like,
the reason is that is annoying, but I think the reason for it is because loads of the time when you search for how to do anything with Talkback,
Mhm.
the main results are, how do you turn off Talkback? I'm stuck in accessibility. And those
Yeah.
results come up first, which is really annoying when you're actually blind and you
I know.
actually want to use it. And I've had fun, frustration, with the watch this week because so many of the results are to do with how annoying accessibility is,
Mhm.
which it really isn't. It's actually awesome.
Yeah, but it's just like, how many people are going to accidentally turn on Talkback and accidentally hide the screen? Like, there is a pop-up that says you're about to hide your screen, and it tells you how to unhide it, and then you check,
Yeah,
don't
it's
show me this
annoying.
again. And even if you check, don't show me this again, it used to literally every time you hide the screen, or every time you reboot your phone, or every time you turn Talkback off and back on again, that message would come up and stay on the screen for 3 minutes. So like, if you're in a situation where you just want to hide your screen and have it go dark, like
Yeah.
that wasn't possible. It would still be lit up and it would still have a message on your screen for 3 minutes. So I'm so glad they finally
3
got rid of that.
minutes. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That is annoying.
Mhm.
Anything else from 13.1?
I've noticed some fixes. So it's come up in the Telegram group a lot, but there was this bug where if you tap with 2 fingers to stop speech, from that point on, Talkback would only read up until the first line break of an item, and you would either have to turn Talkback off and back on again to get it back to working, or you'd have to tap again with 2 fingers to have it finish reading whatever you had paused. And that bug is thankfully gone, because that bothered a lot of people. I mean, it wasn't just in Telegram, it happened in a lot of apps, but it was mainly noticed in Telegram because if you were in a group, it would only read the name of the person and not their actual message, and you would be like, what's going on here? So they fixed that bug. And they also fixed the assistant typing on Pixel phones. I have been complaining about it for a year. It always would bark suggestions at you, and then it wouldn't hear whatever you were saying while
That
the
is
suggestions
annoying.
were. Yeah, so that's fixed. It just stays completely silent now and works perfectly as it should. So I'm very happy about that improvement.
So are you saying that's only on the Pixel that happens? Or is it just that you've only tried it on a Pixel so far?
That bug was only affected Pixels, and now that's fixed on Pixels. However, I did want to bring up, I have noticed, and let me know if anybody else has noticed this, a new bug that they've introduced when using voice typing on Gboard. Now, this doesn't apply to Pixel devices using voice typing, so I mean assistant typing, so no Pixel 6 or 7 series devices, but older Pixels and other phones that are not Pixels, if you are in Gboard and you double tap on the voice input button, the focus moves to either the letter T or the number 5, depending on whether you have a number row showing or not. And so if your normal way of ending dictation is to double tap again, thinking the focus is still on the microphone, now it's going to put a letter T or a number 5 at the end of your message. So
That's annoying.
yeah, I'm kind of, I can't believe they missed something like that, but
Yeah,
it's
that was
there. So
something me and John, were experimenting back and forth, and sometimes I would notice it, but then when he told me the way he was doing it, then I would notice it even more. But if I did the way I suggested to him, then it was not popping up for some odd reason. But
yeah, because some people just let it time out, like,
yeah,
but I don't have time for that. So when I'm done dictating, I just double tap to end dictation. Or my workaround is just doing the back gesture to back out of the keyboard completely, because if I double tap, it will insert the letter 5 for me, unless I do explore by touch to find the microphone again and then double tap. So yeah, it's a little bit of an annoying
you
bug
sign off,
there.
it's T5 instead of 10.4, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
The other thing that I
Oh,
found
my.
slightly baffling was it told me there were some volume changes in that I
Oh,
could hold
yeah.
my finger on the screen and press the volume to change accessibility, because that's never been a thing before. It's like, why are you saying that's new?
Well, what's new is that that's the only way to adjust the accessibility volume. So, well, at least that's what they're going for, because before, if the screen reader was talking, you could adjust the volume and it would adjust the accessibility volume even if you weren't touching the screen. But I think now you have to touch the screen, and why they're doing it is to completely remove Talkback from overriding those volume keys, because so now you can use the volume keys for like taking photos in the camera app, or if you're in any other app that takes advantage of those keys, now Talkback won't override those, and you'll be able to use
Didn't they
them
just
like
say
they're
that?
intended.
Like you can no longer adjust Talkback without touching the screen. That would have made a lot more sense instead of telling me
Yeah.
the thing that it did anyway. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's probably the right thing to do as well.
I really like that too, because it frees us to use apps that would take advantage of that volume. Because goodness, I don't want to, if I don't want to use my volume, or rather, if I want to use my volume keys for doing something else, like you use the app, the key mapper, and you want to use that volume key. Some people like to use that to answer their calls or whatever. So if you have that app like that, now it frees it to where you can now use those type of functions. So I think it's something that should have been there from the get-go, if you ask me. But it's never too late, and we're glad it's here.
And for those of you,
Maybe they
like I did,
addressed it because they wanted to, fix bugs that devices that are non, like Samsung or Google that are overseas that they're noticing, from logs and stuff. That could be it too. You never know.
Yeah. And for those who haven't realised what's happened, you're going to have a load of random photos you didn't know you were taking in your camera app when you thought you were adjusting Talkback volume, and you were.
Oh no.
No, it's not going to happen unless you have the camera app running. So
That's what I mean, though. But if you are, then you're going to have a load of photos because you thought that you were going to adjust
But
the
you
Talkback
have
volume.
to actually, you have to go enable that in the camera app.
And then just finally on features, has anyone tried to find out whether editing is any easier? I mean, we talked about the spell checker, but are there other editing improvements, or is that it? Is copying and pasting any easier, or was it only spell checker?
I think you can do that for the actions too.
With all that actions, it makes things easier because I can, for example, I could switch to the selection mode, and once I'm in that selection mode, I could switch to either line granularity or word granularity. And once I've selected all that I want, I just hit the delete key or copy or whatever if I wanted to do, copy or cut it out. So I think it's a good thing in general. And I think we'll be showing some of these things. Like John will be demonstrating some of these things in our highlights, Talkback highlights, and maybe next week as well. So things to look forward to.
Folks, that draws us to the end of the Android 13.1 new features, but keep your ears peeled for John's first episode of Talkback Highlights. In the In Focus section now, we have an offering from Fi, who unboxes her Vario Ultra 40.
Hi everyone, this is an unboxing of a Vario Ultra 40. This is a very big box. I have taken off the sellotape. I'm now going to open it up. And inside we have another box, much smaller one, in the middle. And then there's some stuff underneath that in the rest of the box. I think the middle part is the most exciting part in the smaller box. Take the lid off that. Hang on. Yes, here we have a Braille-Display. So in the smaller box that protects the Braille-Display, there's actually a sponge underneath and to either side, and actually on top of most of the Braille-Display when it's closed, and it's that sort of bobbly sponge, if that makes sense. That's given it good protection on its transit, so I'll take that out. I will come back to describing that in a minute, but I'll tell you what's in the rest of the box first. So I'm going to take out the smaller sponge-filled box, because I've now taken the Vario Ultra out of the box. So I'll take out this smaller box, put that over there, And underneath it, we've got the case and a strap in a plastic bag. And then we've also got a USB-C cable for charging it, and a box full of, let's see, stuff. This is a smaller box, a much smaller box. It's got a block where you can plug in a USB cable. With it, we've got plugs for different countries. So there's European, US, and UK plugs. So I'm going to take out the UK one. I don't need the others at the moment. I suppose it'd be handy if you are going abroad, because you could swap it over. Although I probably won't really use this much because I've got other USB things. And you slide this little plug thing onto the block with the USB port in it, and it sticks on. Let's see. There we go. That's stuck on. That lets you charge it. I think that's quite good because I know some phones now don't come with something you can plug into the wall socket. They say it's an environmental thing, but I think it's a money-saving thing, to be honest. And yes, I'm cynical. I've closed the plug box, the other one's in, and we've got one more thing in the box, which is a print manual of some sort. This is a great product, but why are they sending a Braille display with a print manual and not a Braille one? And I imagine it must be a large print one, because it's sort of A4 sized and quite thick, unless it's in lots of languages. But manuals that aren't large print are usually much smaller. So now I'm going to reassemble this box, and I'll tell you a bit more about this device and the case, because they're the interesting bits to me. It's very exciting. So, that's that box moved. The Vario Ultra itself, it's quite a narrow device, long and narrow. I think it said on the website it's 12 inches long. It has a Braille at the very front, it's got a sloping edge that slopes up towards where the line of Braille display is. On that edge, you have, I'm going to go from the middle. So in the middle, there's a directional joystick. I don't know, it's like a flat round thing, and you can go up, down, left and right with that, and press the middle for enter. On the left and right hand side of that, you've got two spacebar buttons. These are called B9 and B10 when you are reading about commands, and I've read quite a lot. And then on the left hand side and right hand side of those space bars, you have two system buttons, S1, S2, and S3 and S4. And then the rest of the sloping bit is just smooth. And then on the top of it, still near the front, but flat now rather than sloping, there's 40-cell Braille display. And then above the Braille display, there are cursor routing buttons above each cell. On the left hand and right hand end of the Braille display and cursor routing keys, there's buttons on the left called D1, D2 and D3, and on the right hand side D4, D5 and D6, and they do different things depending on what you're doing. And then further back you have the Braille keyboard, which is slightly more raised than the Braille display. Going from the middle on the left left from centre, there's dots 1, 2, 3 and 7. So you could press those with the 4 fingers on your left hand and then the space with your thumb. And then on the right hand side, going from the middle, dots 4, 5, 6 and 8. And that sounds illogical unless you know Braille and you know that for however many years we've always had dots 1, 2, 3 on the left and dots 4, 5, 6 on the right, and 7 and 8 are additions much more recently, and that's why they're 7 and 8 and not 4 and 8, because we've already got dot 4 on the right hand side. Then on the front ends of the device, slightly round the corners, there's a bit of string attached on each end to a little clip. And the clips are like those on a bum bag or a rucksack. The strap that you get with it, that's quite slim and it's adjustable, the other parts of the clip are on each end of the strap. So they'll go in like this. That's the right hand end, and then the left hand end. And as I say, adjustable strap, which is excellent, because depending on what you're doing and where you are and things, you might want it round your neck at different heights. It's quite light, by the way, this device. It's 500 and something grams, so about a pound in weight, I think. I'll just take that strap off because then I can put the case on. So the case is made of, I think, fake leather. Feels very, very posh. It's got, I think, some sponge underneath the leather or plastic or whatever it is to give extra padding. And it does up. There's a flap that comes over the front and underneath. That flap has magnets on each end and one in the middle, so when you close it, it goes like that. There are spaces in the case so that you still have access to the things on the left and right hand end of the Vario Ultra. On the left hand end, you have a USB port where you can plug in thumb drives and things like that. So I think that's a USB-A port, the traditional one like you get on most computers, apart from now they seem to be swapping over to USB-C, but the sort you've had on computers for years and years before that. That's furthest back, and then the next socket on that end is a USB-C socket where you can plug in your power cable, or you can connect to your computer, and it will still charge when it's connected to the computer, but slower. Then there are 2 switches. The one at the back swaps between note taker mode, which is the mode where anything you're doing on the device happens, and then Braille-Display mode, which is where the device, the Vario, acts as an input-output device for your phone or your computer or your tablet. So you can type Braille in and you can read Braille, but all the actual stuff goes on your phone or computer. And then there is also a locking switch. That's the second one. So if you are taking it somewhere and you're worried about accidentally pressing buttons or something, you can move the lock switch. And they're quite... I had a problem with the lock switch. For a while I wasn't sure how to unlock it, and when you first get it, it is locked. I've unlocked it now, but if I want to lock it again, I do the switch and you will hear it click. And then I'll unlock it again. And the Braille-Display and note taker mode switch is the same. Yeah, the second click was my nail hitting the switch, so that's what it actually sounds like. And then at the other end, the right hand end, most of that, there's not much there, but near the front on the right, there is the on-off switch. So now I'm going to put this in the case so it's all nicely protected. On the case, there is an undone part on the right-hand edge where I said there isn't anything in terms of switches. And it allows you to push the device into the rest of the case without stretching the case, really. And then you just do up the press stud that's on the right-hand end. There we go, that's done. And now it's all protected. And then I'm going to put the strap back on. I mean, it's good that you can use it without the case, but I think it's better to have the case really most of the time, for me anyway. So the left-hand end strap and the right-hand end. So now I'm going to switch it on. It's telling me it's starting Bluetooth to connect to one of my phones. Before I did this part of the recording, I've already paired this to 3 devices. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. It was pretty straightforward though. What I am going to show you is I'm going to go into the Braille note taker mode and just show you what's on there, because it's good to know what else you can do with this, as well as using it with a phone. So that's me moving between lines. And the ch-ch-ch noise is the Braille moving. There's a word processor which allows you to open Word files, PowerPoints and Braille files, RTF files, text files. There's a PDF viewer which does what it says. And Braille in that can be actually better than if you view a PDF from your phone, because the formatting then won't be very good. Then there's Excel viewer for spreadsheets. I'm not sure that you can edit them. I don't know, I haven't played with that, but you can certainly view them. Then there's a calculator, which from some of the reading I've done of the manuals has some quite complex scientific-y stuff as well, but I haven't played with that. There's timers, and in there you have timer, countdown, and stopwatch, and alarm clocks. Well, I'm not really going to bother with that alarm clocks thing because I can do that on my phone, but it's nice to know it's there. Then if you come out of timers, there's file manager, so you can see what's on your device, and also your memory stick if one's plugged in. So it will call the device flash disk, and then if you've got a memory stick plugged in, it will call it stick. And if you have an extra item in the list, it's called temp. So I'm going to come out of that. And then there's a settings thing where you can set various things like alerts, which is things like the volume of the alerts. That's a lot for things like when you first switch it on, and also not from suspension mode, which I've just switched it on from, but when you first switch it on, when it's been properly powered off, it does play a little tune. How loud you want the alerts, whether you want vibration or not, when, for example, you've connected to another device, and presumably it'll work with things like the alarm as well. Then there's Braille, so there's settings to do with the cursor. There's one called presentation. That's to do with things like left margin, right margin, jump, show messages with word wrap, just things like, and how strong you want the dots to be. Actually, I might alter that, how strong I want the dots to be. At the moment it's medium. I don't want high. I'll try low and see what that's like. Okay. Oh yeah, that's be easier on the fingers actually. But I'd probably change it back to medium if I was somewhere cold or something. It'd make it easier to read. And there's stuff about the cursor. I've come out of presentation now. There's stuff about the cursor. There's default Braille codes, so that's to do with whether it's contracted or not, whether it's UEB or US Braille, things like that. There's a thing about standard Braille tables. You can hide dots 7 and 8, but I don't like that. I quite like to be able to read them. And there's an active master switch that allows you to turn computer Braille on and off quickly. And I've used that a couple of times because for things like entering the date, and I think possibly for things like the calculator as well, you need to use computer Braille. I'm going to change my dots back to medium, actually. Yeah, I prefer medium, so I'll just right arrow to medium in that setting and then go down to OK. I'm not going into massive detail because this is a Braille display rather than an Android device, so really it's not the podcast for masses of detail on all the settings and things. Yeah, there's display settings about how you want things to appear in the menu and whether you want to read what hotkeys for things are after you know, in the same line as you read them in the menu, which I find very helpful. There's a thing called templates, I'm not sure what that is. Password options, messages, I think that's about how long you want messages to appear on the display for before they go. And then we're back to shortcuts, so I'll come out of there. There's keyboard settings, got date and time settings. That was all fun and games, working out how to enter the date and time when it wasn't right, and I wanted to make sure it was for if I saved things on the device or on the memory stick, because I didn't want them to have all the wrong date and time on them. There's stuff about power management and profiles, which is to do with Braille profiles. Oh, Braille-Display mode. I might go into that actually, because that could be relevant to us using this with our phones. But with the date and time, I had to read the manual a couple of times, that bit of the manual, because it's actually US computer Braille that you have to use. And I didn't really know how to do the numbers in US computer Braille, so I had to look that up. It did tell me in the manual, so that was good. Oh, and for anyone worried that I only had a print manual, the dealer who I bought this from did email me the manual so that I could read it as well, so I didn't have to go looking for it on the website. But I would say my only complaint really is, for goodness sake, send people a Braille manual. That box you send is huge. You'd fit one in, you know. Braille display mode. There's something about device emulation, which I read about, and that's something you only need to do if there are problems with devices that haven't been updated to work with this Vario Ultra 40, so I don't have to worry about that. Then there's something about enable Bluetooth automatically when you switch it on. I haven't switched that on at the moment because I have a key combination for which phone I want to connect to, which automatically turns on Bluetooth anyway. And if I'm in note taker mode, I don't want to be using up the battery with Bluetooth when I'm not even connected to a phone. So I haven't enabled that. Vibrate on device connected. So when it connects to device 1 of my 3, you can connect up to 4. It will vibrate once. When it's connected to device 2, it'll vibrate twice, and device 3 it'll vibrate 3 times. It'll also show a message on the display to show which device it's connected to. Show messages if device was disconnected. That's a good thing, so that's ticked. And then it has a list of my devices that are connected. For example, Galaxy S9 T2, I think T must stand for terminal, and it says Braille 50 milliseconds, HID 60 milliseconds, HID table Apple US 2H. I don't know why it says Apple when it's an Android phone, but there we go. It's paired. And then Fiona's S20 FE is T3, and that's Braille 50 ms, HID 60 ms, HID table Apple US .2 .U2H. I'm not entirely sure what all that means, but that's paired, and there isn't a device 4 because that's I haven't actually done that yet, so I'll cancel that now. And then system, you can do updates, you can do disk cleanup, and you can reset the device. And then we're back to alerts. So that's all the settings. Then there is a help thing you can go into. And then we're back to word processing. So just a short recap, the things it gives you are word processor, PDF viewer, Excel viewer, calculator, timers, which includes stopwatch, file manager, settings, and help. That's the unboxing and the description. Oh, and one thing I should have said as well is that there is a sticker on the underside with an 8-digit serial number. You can also view that in the, I think it's in the help section, but obviously if you had problems with it and it needed to be repaired and you couldn't actually open your help file because the whole thing was broken, it's very handy to have the serial number brailled on the underside. Now my phones have both just completely died because I haven't been very organised, but what I'll do quickly is I'll just go into the word processor and I'll type something so that you can hear what the keyboard sounds like. And we're in a new document and I'm going to type, "Hello blind Android users, this is my Vario demo." Do close. Do I want to save before closing? I'm going to say no because this is rubbish. And now I want to do file menu and open something just so I can go up and down in a document so that you can hear what that sounds like. I'll open something from my preaching folder, a service that I prepared. So if I open that and just go, oh no, it's still opening it. And now it's opened it, so I'm going to go, it says the 21st of August 2022, going down, and it says 11 a.m. and the church where it was held. I've gone down a couple of lines because there was a blank line, welcome and call to worship, down a line again. We meet in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. So I've had to go, because the print line of text is longer than 40 cells, I used D5, the pan right key, to pan to the rest of the line without going down a line of text, of printed text. And I've done it again. And then it says, we begin by singing our first hymn about worship and... Now, the next line is not yet, but the Braille's finished, so press D5 again. Prayer, oh worship the Lord in the beauty of, and then press D5 again. Holiness. So I've gone down a couple, and then I've actually got the hymn words on here. So if I just read those and just see if you can hear the sound. Now I'll do it with using the D5 panning key rather than the downward joypad. So there you go. The hymn lines are presented beautifully, whereas when I read them via a phone, they're just all in one big sort of paragraph with no line breaks, apart from when there's a new paragraph. The formatting is not very good, and that applies to Android and Apple phones. So putting files onto this Braille display for things like hymns, poetry, etc. is a very good idea. There's 32 gigs of memory, and this device doesn't go online or anything on its own. It doesn't play audio files, so you only really need to save things like text, PowerPoint, Excel, PDF, that type of file. So 32 gigs should last a very long time, and when I bought this, the dealer I bought it from said he's never known anybody to run out of space. So there you go, a quick tour of the Vario Ultra 40 Braille display.
Sophie, you've done the unboxing. Presumably you've played with it for a little bit more. What do you think of it?
Oh, it's the best Braille display I've ever used. And I mean, I've said that about Braille displays before, but really, this is like the Rolls Royce of Braille displays, really. It's a joy to type things on. Because some Braille displays are quite clacky and clattery when you type on them. This one isn't. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the 20.
You have the 20.
Yeah.
They're great, aren't they? They're brilliant.
They are.
And
The
it's
only
lovely to
thing
read on it.
Oh, the cells are lovely. The only thing that winds me up about it are the space bars.
You don't like them?
Why can't I have a long space bar on the top? I don't want. Why have I got two little thumb key space bars? One of which is an
It's
active
for the
space bar.
commands. It's for the
I know,
commands.
but I
though.
want a long hitty space bar.
A long hitty space bar. Is that a
Yeah, and I
technical
can just
term?
bash with my thumb, like properly. I don't. Why can't I just have a nice long space bar? That's my only bugbear with it.
So
But
is
I love it.
is that like the easiest spacebar thing that's split in two?
Yeah, and it's kind of on the.
I heard that.
But instead of having like with the ESIS ones, they almost look like one space bar in two halves. Whereas with
Yeah,
this,
so I
there's
don't
a
like that.
joypad in between the two space bars.
Yeah.
No. So maybe that's one reason I wouldn't be getting that brand, because I like Ed says, I like one long space bar.
But it's the rest of it is lovely. Weirdly, the best spacebar I've ever seen on a Braille display is the Focus 5th Gen, because the 4th Gen had no travel to it. So it was a long spacebar, but it wouldn't. I don't know. It didn't press satisfyingly.
Oh, you couldn't feel it go down.
No, whereas the 5th has actually quite a nice spacebar. It's as a spacebar should be on a Braille display.
Because I have an ESIS as well, but that you see that's quite a clacky thing to type on. Whereas the Vario is lovely, isn't it? To type on.
I like that part, the clacky, because it
like
makes me.
that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a chicken clacking out there.
Oh dear, I can't type quietly on that thing, whereas on this one I can.
Yeah.
On the Vario Ultra.
Braille display ever. Go and buy a Harpo Braille pen.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those. They're quite clacky as well.
Plastic.
I like that.
They are very plastic.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
at the time it was within my budget, right?
Yeah, mine too. I bought mine second hand for about 300 quid.
Yeah, but well, I mean, for what they are, they're good. But you get what you pay for, don't you? I mean,
you do.
I don't know how much those cost now. Can you even still buy them? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'll say this though, that you guys in Europe have, a lot of choices out there when it comes to Braille displays. I mean, you can't even shake a stick at those things. You got so many of those things out there.
And now we move to our Talkback highlights section, where John brings us the first in a two-part series demonstrating some of those features we talked about in Android Basics.
This is going to be a continuation of our series, Talkback Highlights. Talkback 13.1 was recently released by Google, and along with it came a few new features that we are going to cover in this series. Today, in installment number 51, we are going to cover how to use actions with Talkback's reading controls. So previously, how you would use actions is you would bring up the Talkback menu and you would select actions, and there would be a list of actions for you to choose from. Alternatively, you could go into your gesture settings and assign actions to a specific gesture that you could bring up directly without having to invoke the Talkback menu. But now in 13.1, it's even easier than that. You are now able to just swipe up and down to go through a list of actions. So if there's an item in focus that has actions, the default reading control for that, or what we sometimes call granularity, will be set to actions. So you can just swipe up and down to go through those actions. I'll give you an example here. So I'm on the home screen. If I want to add a new app to my home screen, what I could do is bring up the app drawer.
App suggestions. Unlabeled.
And find an app.
Audible.
Audible. So if you swipe up or down, it will cycle through the different actions available.
Shortcuts and notifications. Add to home screen. Activate.
And once you've gone back to activate, you know you've gone through all of the actions, because activate, which would be open, is the default action. So
Shortcuts and notifications.
if I want to add it to the home screen,
Add to home screen.
I just swipe it till I hear that and double tap.
Home. Item added to home screen. Home screen 2 of 2. Audible.
So that's one example of actions. I'll show you another. I'll bring down my notification shade.
Notification shade. 10:28 a.m. Thursday, January 12th. Casting. Do not disturb. Wi-Fi 3 bars. Battery 74%.
So I'm just going to find a notification here.
Collapsed. Telegram. Bullet. 14 new messages from 3 chats. Bullet. 7 hours ago.
So let's say I want to dismiss this. All I'd have to do is swipe up
Dismiss.
and double tap.
Collapsed. Marcus Brownlee. Is Apple giving MagSafe to Android?
So as you can see, it automatically went down and put the next item in focus in my notification shade, so I can just swipe up and dismiss that one if I want.
Dismiss. Collapsed. Google Play. Bullet. johnmdyer05@gmail.com. Bullet. 31 minutes ago. Your Google Play order received from January 12, 2023.
So as you can see, it just went down to the next notification. And if you want to continue dismissing notifications in that manner, you can. It's quick and easy. So I'm going to go back to my home screen.
Home. Home. Gmail has one notification.
I'm just going to show you another example. I'm going to go into Gmail.
Mail. Compose. Inbox.
See what we have here.
Unread. Citi Custom Cash SM MasterCard. Your statement is available online.
So if I want to delete this because I'm not interested in keeping it around, I'd simply swipe up
Delete.
and double tap.
Me. 3 messages. Welcome to the...
And so, as you can see, I stopped it, but the next message went in focus. And of course, there's more actions other than delete and dismiss. So if I continue to swipe through,
Delete. Archive. Add star. Activate.
and once you get back to activate, you know you've gone through all the different actions. So that's just a couple of examples of where you can use actions. Another I'm going to show you is text editing. So I'm going to open Keep Notes.
Home. Gmail, window home. Keep notes.
And I've already created a note here.
This is a sample note used to demonstrate how to edit text with the new Actions Reading control. Showing English, US QWERTY. Keep notes. Editing. This is a sample note used to demonstrate how to edit text with the new Actions Reading control. Note for note body.
So this is the text field that I'm in, and that's the text I've already typed in here. I just want to show you, if I swipe up and down.
No previous heading.
So it's set to heading, so I'm going to need to change to actions by either swiping up and down or swiping down and up.
Paragraphs. Lines. Words. Characters. Actions.
And once you've found actions, you can swipe through the different actions you have.
Start or end selection mode. Select all.
Oh, I'm just going to select all.
Selected text. This is a sample note used to demonstrate how to edit text with the new Actions Reading control. Paste.
I'm going to keep swiping.
Copy.
I could copy.
Cut.
I'm going to cut.
Cut. This is a sample note used to demonstrate how to edit text with the new Actions Reading control. Text copied. Showing recently copied or captured content as candidate.
So it just read the text that I cut, and the text field is now empty. So if I swipe back down,
Paste.
I can paste it by double tapping.
Pasted.
And if I swipe again,
Select all. Start or end selection mode.
let's start selection mode.
Selection mode on.
And then,
Period. Selected.
so it's put the granularity back to characters. I'm going to change it to words.
Words.
And
Control. Selected. Reading. Selected. Actions. Selected.
so actions reading controls is now highlighted. If I wanted to delete just that text, I could simply change my granularity or reading control back to actions.
Characters. Actions. End selection mode.
And then swipe up or down
Select all. Paste.
until
Copy.
I find
Cut.
cut.
Cut. Actions reading control. Text copied. Showing recently copied or captured content as candidate.
So that's just a couple of examples of how it's easier to use actions through the reading controls rather than bringing up an actions menu. I'm going to show you a couple of things you can adjust in the Talkback settings now that this is an option. So I'm going to bring up Talkback settings.
Talkback menu. Actions.
So as you can see, actions is in the Talkback menu. So one of the things I'm going to show you how to do is remove this if you plan on using actions as a reading control from now on, then you don't need this to be in the menu, and it can help you get to other menu items faster if it's not here. So I'm going to find Talkback settings.
Talkback settings.
I'm going to open it.
Keyboard hidden. Talkback settings. Navigate up.
I'm going to change my granularity to headings,
Words. Paragraphs. Headings.
and I'm going to swipe down to
Audio. Controls.
controls, and under here,
Customize focus indicator. Customize gestures. Customize menus.
you're going to want to go to customize menus.
Customize Talkback menu. To use the Talkback menu, tap the screen with 3 fingers. You can also swipe up then right, or swipe down then right.
So I'm going to open this.
Actions for current item.
So actions for current item is the first heading, and under this heading, you're going to find
Spelling suggestions. Shows when the cursor is on a misspelled word, checked.
and.
Actions. Shows when actions exist for the current item, including copy, paste, select, and more, checked.
So this is checked. I'm going to uncheck this. You don't have to, but I don't need this in my Talkback menu anymore, so I'm going to turn this off.
Not checked.
And alternatively, if you had previously set up a gesture to bring up the actions menu, you can now reassign that gesture to any other action you want. So it essentially frees up another gesture for you to customize if you are the type to customize your gestures. So that brings this installment, number 51 of Talkback Highlights, to an end.
And finally, for this week, we have a tip of the week, and it's John again, and he shows you how to block Warren on Telegram. And as I said at the start, I would all do this if I were you.
Hi, John here, and today I'm going to show you how to block somebody on Telegram that you no longer want to be in communication with. So I'm on my home screen now. I'm just going to open Telegram.
Telegram.
So what you're going to want to do is go to the person's profile, and I'm going to show you one way to do it and talk you through a couple of other ways. So I'm going to find somebody in my list that I don't want to talk to anymore.
Android Evangelist. Received January 3rd at 9:56 p.m.
So let's say this Android Evangelist guy I no longer want to talk to. I'm going to open up my conversation with him.
Android Evangelist. Voice message, 20 seconds, played, 418.5. Android Evangelist. Last seen recently.
So you're going to put in focus their name at the top. It's either going to be a name or a phone number, but it will be across the top, and if you double tap on that, you'll get to their profile.
Video call.
So now that I'm on the profile page, I can swipe
Call. More options.
until I get to more options.
Pop-up window. Auto delete. Add to contacts. Block user.
Notice block user. But before I block him, because I don't want him to be blocked for too long, I'm going to explain a couple of other ways you can get to someone's profile. So if you don't have an active conversation with them, say you've already deleted it, or you haven't even talked to them yet, but you know you don't want to. If you have them in your contacts, you can get to their profile from there. But if they're in a group that you're a part of, you can open up that group, and if you double tap on the name of the group at the top of the page, that will take you to the group info, and there will be a list of all the members there. And you can use that list to get to their profile. Once you're in their profile, you'll be able to go to the more options and find block. So I'm going to go ahead and block this Android Evangelist so that I can show you how to unblock somebody.
Block user. Are you sure you want to block Android Evangelist? Cancel. Block user.
I'm going to block him.
User blocked. Android Evangelist. More options.
Okay. So now I'm going to back out of his info page and out of his
More
conversation.
Telegram. Android Evangelist. Received January. Telegram.
So now I'm on the main Telegram page with the list of all my conversations. So if you decide you want to unblock somebody from here, you're going to go to
Open navigation menu.
open the navigation menu. This is near the top left.
John Dyer.
So I stopped that speech so it didn't say my number out loud. But once you've opened this menu, you're going to want to go down to
Switch to day theme. New group. Contacts. Calls. People nearby. Saved messages. Settings.
settings and double tap on that.
John Dyer. Profile picture.
And then you're going to find
Username. @JohnMarkDyer. Add a few words about yourself. Settings. Notifications and sounds. Privacy and security.
So there's a heading called settings about halfway down the screen. You're going to want to go to privacy.
Privacy and security. Privacy and security.
So I opened
Message.
that up.
Telegram. Go back. Security. Blocked users. 1.
And near the top, you're going to see blocked users.
Blocked users. Blocked users.
I'm going to find
Android Evangelist. Unknown.
Android Evangelist. Double tap that.
Android Evangelist. More options.
And you're going to go to more options again near the top right.
Pop-up window. Auto delete. Add to contacts. Unblock user.
And now instead of block user, you're going to see unblock user.
User unblocked. Android evangelist. More options.
And just like that, he's unblocked again. So if I open the menu,
Pop-up window. Auto. Start secret chat. Block user.
block user is back, which means he's unblocked. So that's just a quick rundown of how you would go about blocking somebody and then unblocking them if you ever decide to. All right, I hope this helps.
That's it for this week, folks. So thank you very much for listening. Austin, where can people find us?
For people to locate us, they can email us with their questions or feedback or comments or recording submissions to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. They can browse our website, blindandroidusers.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/blindandroidusers. Subscribe to our mailing list, Blind Android Users, plus subscribe at groups.io. The links for Telegram and Twitter, Clubhouse will be in the show notes with all the other links. So that is it from us this week.
We shall see you all next week. Say bye-bye to the nice people.
Bye everyone.
Bye,
Should we say
everybody.